UFC is one of the most grueling sports out there, with some of the hardest hitting men and women battling each other, leaving their opponents bruised and battered. Unfortunately, there are times when tragedy can strike after these fighters leave the ring. Hello and welcome back to our channel, and today we're going over 7 times UFC fighters tragically died. First up, Falvake. Falvake tragically passed away after fighting for his life at Auckland City Hospital in May of 2021. On May 16th, 4 men brutally assaulted the young fighter, who ultimately died from his injuries. The 25-year-old fighter was a celebrated kickboxer who had recently transitioned to the UFC and was 2-0 in his early pro career. His death is the most recent of a UFC fighter within the community. Next up, Sammy Vasquez. Following a knockout loss in October 2007, Renegade's extreme fighter Sammy Vasquez went into a coma and died from effects of blunt head trauma and a brain hemorrhage. Vasquez was the first fighter in North America to die from injuries suffered in a UFC or MMA battle. The 35-year-old collapsed in the ring after taking a flurry of punches from his opponent at the 250 mark in the 3rd round. EMTs worked on him in the ring for several minutes as he appeared to have a seizure before he was rushed to the hospital. Vasquez had 2 surgeries to try to relieve the pressure and large blood clot in his brain, but then he suffered a massive stroke and went into a medically induced coma. He passed away a week after falling into this coma. Next up, Mateus Fernandes. Mateus Fernandes, an amateur Brazilian fighter, died in 2019 after experiencing seizures in the ring and allegedly 4 heart attacks in the hospital following a knockout loss in Manaus. He was only 22 years old. The 22-year-old fighter's death was linked to drug use, not the punches that he took in the fight. Fernandes apparently passed his pre-fight blood exams, but did not have heart or brain tests prior to the challenge. Next up, Jordan Parsons. During his career, American Jordan Parsons competed in both lightweight and featherweight divisions. Nicknamed Pretty Boy, Parsons was supposed to step into the ring on May 14, 2016, after becoming the lightweight champion at the Championship Fighting Alliance a few years earlier. Unfortunately, Parsons never got to compete in his fight as he found himself involved in an accident in May 1st. Parsons was crossing the street when he was violently struck by a car, suffering a severed leg and multiple injuries before being rushed to a hospital. The fighter succumbed to his injuries and lost his life at 26 years old. Next up, Evan Tanner. Evan Tanner was a former UFC middleweight champion and a wrestler in high school. Tanner struggled as a light heavyweight before moving down to middleweight and finding success there. In 2008, Tanner took a trip to the Imperial County, California, and went to go biking and camping. After taking a spin on his new dirt bike, Tanner called his manager and told him that he was out of gas and would walk back to the campsite. His friends were told to call the police if they didn't hear anything from him the next morning if he hadn't returned to camp. Tanner's body was discovered by a Marine helicopter on September 8, 2008, with the official cause of death being listed as heat exposure. After nearly 14 years, the UFC community continues to mourn his untimely death. Next up, Kevin Randleman. There are few figures in mixed martial arts more iconic than Kevin Randleman. His insane physique, mixed with his blonde highlighted hair, will always be seared into the memories of lifelong fans. He was a former NCAA Division I wrestler who competed in the heavyweight and light heavyweight divisions. In November of 1999, Randleman became the UFC heavyweight champion at the UFC 23 event. Randleman almost died in 2007 when the staph infection leaked into his bloodstream and shut down his liver and kidney, yet the heavyweight champion managed to overcome the fatal illness. However, in 2016, Randleman contracted pneumonia and was not able to overcome the illness, having similar complications to the staph infection from 9 years earlier. He was just 44 years old, and this untimely death shocked the entire UFC community. Next up, Kimbo Slice. Kevin Ferguson, also known as Kimbo Slice, was a Bohemian brawler who was most known for participating in and hosting street fights. After making a name for himself throughout street boxing, Kimbo was given an opportunity to set foot inside the UFC world. After a 1-2 record in the UFC, Slice switched to boxing and racked up a 7-0 record before going back to the UFC. Although Slice had a win turned into a no contest due to a failed drug test, he was very successful within the organization and among UFC fans. On June 5, 2016, Kimbo Slice was admitted to a hospital in Florida almost out of nowhere. The next day, he was pronounced dead due to heart failure. He was 42 years old when he died, and his death came as a huge shock to the UFC and MMA communities throughout the world. All of these deaths have caused great sadness within these communities and the families. So from our channel, condolences to all the families for those who have been lost. And guys, thank you once again for tuning in to our channel. Be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell so that you never miss a video. We'll see you guys next time.